So today, guys, I'm going to discuss with you derivative of a function. Okay. So many real-world phenomena involve changing quantities, the speed of a rocket, the inflation of currency, the number of bacteria in a culture, the shock of intensity of an earthquake, the voltage of an electrical signal. We have length of a metal rod, production cost, we changes with the quantity, So, and then also we have, for instance, radius of an artery. So in medicine, okay? So I'm going to discuss with you the concept of derivative. Those that I mentioned to you, so derivative is the mathematical tool for studying the rate at which one quantity changes relative to another. So, and the study of rates of change is closely related to the geometric concept of tangent line to a curve. Remember, guys, during our overview of calculus, so we say that there were four major problems, which are actually generally two problems only. The tangent line problem and the area problem, which mathematicians before, during the time that there was still no calculus, were trying to solve. And to be able to introduce derivative, we can make use of what we call the tangent line problem. Okay. So in order to talk about the tangent line problem that will lead us to the derivative of a function, let us recall the following. So you had this actually in analytic geometry, increment of a variable. So what do we mean by increment of a variable? So when you say increment of a variable, it means only a change, no? So a change in what? A change in a variable, no? So you can also say increment in a variable, no? Yeah. So, and what do we mean exactly by change in a variable mathematically? It means only difference, can be negative, can be positive. So precisely it is the difference between the final value and the initial value of the variable. Okay. So let's say we have two values. Consider two values of let's say of x. So from what? From x equals 2 to x equals 2.5. So by increment of a variable, so we denote it by delta. So delta x. So delta x means increment. Or change.
Sir, question po.
Yes.
Isn't the symbol delta symbolizing change po?
Delta using triangle.
Okay po. Thank you, sir.
It means delta x. That is just one quantity. It does not mean delta times x. Increment or change in x. Okay? And it is equal to final value of x minus initial value. So it means it is directed. So let's say I have x sub 2 as my final value, and then my initial value, for instance, is x sub 1. So we say that delta x is what? Is x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Okay, guys? So in our example here, so what is our change, guys? change in x. So the final value is 2.5. Then minus what? Minus initial value is x, which is equal to 2. So what is delta x, guys? Delta x is 0.5. Am I correct, guys?
Yes po.
Now, what if, let's say, if y changes, for instance, if y changes from y equals, let's say, 3 to 3.8, then what can I say? What can we say about delta y? So the change in y, delta y is equal to what? Y sub 2 minus y sub 1. What is my y sub 2, guys? 3.8. Am I correct? What about my initial value? 3. Therefore, what is my delta, guys? My delta y is 0.8. Okay? Is that clear, guys?
Yes po, sir.
Yes po.
What about if, let's say, x changes from x equals 1 to, let's say, negative 1.3. What is my delta x? Guys, so delta x is what? Is equal to negative 1.3. So that is my x sub 2. What is my x sub 1? 1. So we have negative 1.3 minus what? Minus 1. And what's the value, guys?
Negative 0.3 po.
So it is negative, no? So delta or change in a variable can be negative, can be positive, depending on whether the value decreases or the value increases. If the value increases, change is positive. If the value decreases, so the change is negative, like in this case, from bigger to smaller. So we have negative 2.3,
2.3
no?
po.
Okay. Is that clear now what we mean by increment in a variable or increment of a variable, guys?
Yes po, sir.
So the next thing that we are going to talk about to get to the derivative of a function, we have what we call average rate, no? So average rate of change. So again, we have average rate of change. So what is an average rate of change? Let's say I have a function. So y equals f of x. So again, to talk about average rate of change, we need a function. And let's consider that y equals f of x. Okay? So the average rate of change is given by what? Guys, how do you compute average rate of change? That is the ratio of what? Guys, average rate is equal to Guys? Any idea? So average rate, is my spelling correct, guys?
Yes po, sir.
Is equal to what, guys? Is equal to change in y values over change in x values. If you have this, y equals f of x. Okay? So that is rate, average, and this is equal to what? Delta y over what, guys? Delta x, na? Am I correct?
Yes po.
Yeah. Actually, in geometry, we call this average rate of change as what, guys? Or in analytic geometry, this is called what? What is that, guys, in analytic geometry?
Slope.
Slope, no? So this is called slope. Okay? So that is slope and represented by m, and that is equal to delta y over, okay, delta x. Now, how do we represent that geometrically? So let's say we have this graph. Let's say I have this graph. Okay, and then let's have horizontal line, the x-axis. Can make it straight. It's hard to make it straight. So let's say this is the x-axis, the y-axis. And let's consider a graph. And let's consider this graph. I think I need okay. And let's say I have a point here in this graph, and another point. If I'm going to connect these 2 points, guys, so corresponding to x and this second point, if let's say this x changes by the amount delta x, so let's say from here to here, it changes by the amount delta x. So this is x plus delta x. Okay, guys? Kung ito ay 4, it changes by 1, so it will be 5 corresponding to this. Let's say this is Q and this is P. Okay? So my Q has coordinates x plus delta x. The corresponding y value is given by this, no? So this is y plus delta y. If x changes by the amount delta x, y will change by the amount y plus delta y, okay? I mean delta y. So it will change by that amount. So this value here, from this point to this point, so this is, I mean, from y to this point, so this is delta y, okay? Guys, so this is the tangent, I mean the secant line, a line that passes through P and Q, that is a line through 2 points on the curve, passing through those 2 points, we call this secant line. Am I correct, guys? Guys? So again, what is this line, guys?
The second line.
Secant line, yeah. Okay? So, now, the slope of this, as what we had, the slope is what, guys? The slope is given by, which is the rate of change of y with respect to x. So that is delta y, no? Remember? And that is equal to, so by the way, what are the coordinates of q? X plus delta x, y plus delta y. Actually, this y plus delta y is the same as f of x plus delta x. Okay? So, and our P has coordinates x and y. So if you're going to replace delta y by its equivalent difference, what is our x sub 2, y sub 2? Our y sub 2 is f of x plus delta x. Is that clear, guys? This is our y sub 2. Our y sub 1 is y. But what is our y? F of x. Okay? And this is over delta x, which is the difference between x plus delta x and x. X plus delta x minus x, that is delta x. Okay, guys? So x sub 2 minus x sub 1 is delta x. So again, this is slope of that secant line. Slope of secant line. This special ratio is actually called, this special ratio, yan, this special ratio is called difference quotient. Okay? Again, what is that, guys? This slope of secant line, or
Difference quotient.
if we do not know that it is secant line slope, so this is what? It means difference ratio. Or difference quotient. Difference quotient. Okay, and that is the secant slope of the secant line. Now, if I'm going to get the limit of this, guys, so of this, as delta x approaches 0, for instance, it means what will happen to this secant line as q approaches what? Approaches p. So this time, we will be talking about another thing called instantaneous rate of change, no? So this is called instantaneous rate of change this time. Instantaneous. Kanina we talk about average, no? Rate, distance, instantaneous rate of change. Or simply rate of change sometimes, no? Rate of change. So this means it is a change, a rate of change at an instant, no? Meaning if you have an object moving in a linear, let's say, in a linear motion, so that is, let's say, rate at a particular position. Okay? A while ago we had average rate of change. So how do we measure instantaneous rate of change? How do we come up with this? If Q moves, let's say, if Q moves towards P, what will happen to the secant line? Kitangon. Let's say I move here, the Q. So this is now the secant line. Okay, so this is now the secant line. If I move here, this is now the secant line. Kitangon, are you there?
I think it will be closer to the parallel of the x-axis.
So it gets, as Q moves towards P, secant line PQ moves what? So is approaching a limiting position. No? A limiting position. So it means if Q moves towards P, this secant line is becoming what? So let's copy that. Okay. Ay, sorry. Oh. And so let's copy. Okay. So it will reach a limiting position, and that limiting position is called a tangent line. Okay, guys? So again, if Q moves towards P, so this secant line will reach or will approach a limiting position, and this is the limiting position. And that limiting position is called what, guys? Tangent line, no?
Yes po, since it only intersects at one point.
Okay? It will reach eventually as Q moves towards P, if the distance between P and Q very, very small coming from the right. So, and also you can do the same coming from the left, same observation actually. Because if I have a point here, you can draw a secant line and do the same behavior. I mean, the same procedure. Let's Q moves towards P. It will reach the same pink line, no? And this pink line is called the tangent line and at P on the curve, no? Okay? Yan. So again, secant line PQ is approaching a limiting position called a tangent line. We have measured already the slope of the secant line. So how do we measure the slope of this tangent line, considering that we have only one point? So if you have only one point, of course, that's the information we know about the pink line. So we can't solve for the slope. Okay, so how do we measure the slope of the tangent line? Now, when we say secant line, PQ approaches what we call a tangent line, let's say tangent line T. So that is tangent line T. It means that the delta x is what? What is happening to delta x, guys? As secant line approaches, secant line PQ approaches the tangent line, the limiting position. So, what happens to delta x?
It approaches 0 po.
So, it is getting smaller and smaller, no? So, meaning approaching 0. Okay? So, actually, this is from the right, no? From the right. But, of course, you can consider also same is from the left, no? And it will approach also 0. Okay? So, mathematically, we can describe the slope of this tangent line to be what? Guys, how can we measure the slope of the tangent line? Guys, how do we measure the slope of the tangent line? Guys, is what? So the slope of the tangent line is given by what? Given by, let's say, mt, and that is equal to the limit of this difference quotient. X, f of x plus delta x, okay, minus f of x all over delta x as delta x approaches what? 0. Okay, guys? Of course, we assume that this limit exists. No? Did you get that, guys? Is that clear? So again, to get the value of the slope of the secant, of the tangent line at P on the curve, so we have to get the limit of this difference quotient. So hence, the slope of this P, the tangent line to at point P on the curve, is given by this limit. Is that clear? Guys? Okay now?
Yes po.
So, but as I mentioned to you, rates of change do not only happen to, or let's say to X and Y. Remember, our X and Y here do not have representations. X and Y can represent many quantities, right? Like for instance, if I'm going to consider the following, let's say I have average rate of change, rate of change. And then let's say I have here instantaneous rate of change. So remember, initially what we had, y equals what? A function of x, no? Let me have another heading. Okay. And then I have here okay. So let's say have here functions. So our function here, so originally what we have, guys, we have what? Ano tayo originally meron, guys? Originally we have y is equal to what? F of x, right? Guys?
Yes po.
So, but we don't have representations for x and y, no? Respectively. So, kapag meron tayong x and y, ano ang average rate of change? Ang average rate of change na tinatawag nating slope is equal to what? Slope ng secant, no? And this is equal to f of x plus delta x minus f of x all over delta x. What about the slope, guys?
M sub t.
So the slope is given by the limit, no?
Yes po. Limit as
Slope
delta x
naman ng
approaches 0.
tangent line. Slope ng tangent line is equal to this. And this is the instantaneous rate of change of y with respect to x, right? Now, what if my x now has a representation? Let's say my x is position, I mean time and time elapsed or elapsed time, and my y is now a position or distance. So we now have y as what? As a distance, yan, in terms of time. Meaning, position of a particle, for instance, ng isang object in a what we call in a linear or on a line, no, on a straight line, for instance. So how do I get the average of that? So the average rate of this, so we call this actually average velocity, no? So we have average velocity. Yan. Average velocity is equal to what, guys? What's the average velocity? It is S of what? S of t plus delta t minus what? S of t all over change in t. Meaning, change in time, no? Yan. Okay? Yan. So how to get the average velocity? All you have to do is to get the difference between the final distance and initial distance, divide that difference with the final difference between final time and initial time, no? The corresponding final time and initial time. And how do we measure the instantaneous rate of change of the displacement or position ng particle?
Acceleration.
Guys, anong tawag by the way doon?
Acceleration po.
That is velocity.
Oh.
Ito average. Pag instantaneous rate of change ng distance or displacement with respect to time, so ang tawag doon, velocity. Okay? And the velocity is given by the limit as delta t approaches 0. Instead na f, ang tatawag ngayon natin dyan ay s na kasi may pangalan na siya. And instead na x, t plus delta t minus s of t. Okay? It's not s times t, ha? All over delta t. So that's how we write. Again, what is this, guys? That is velocity. Ito, ano to? Slope ng tangent line. Ito, average velocity. Yan. Average velocity. Ang tawag pala sa rate of change, average rate of change ng distance or displacement with respect to time, kasi displacement actually mas general, no? Can be negative, can be positive. Parang umurong ka, forward, backward, no? Okay, guys? So, average velocity ang tawag dyan. Eh, what if my situation is not anymore position of a particle. Let's say I have number of bacteria. So the number of bacteria, so let's say that is my n. Ito na ngayon yung pangalan ng function ng ano ko, n. And it is a, let's say, number of bacteria. Sorry. Let's say, ang pangalan ng function ko is b. At it is in terms of n of t. Okay? Number of bacteria changes with relative to time. So how do I write that? The average rate of change. Guys, paano ko isusulat yung average rate of change niyan? Guys. Average rate of change of bacteria.
Instead of S
number
po,
of bacteria.
N po.
And average rate of, yan yung average rate. And that is N of what? T plus
Delta T po.
yan. Minus N of T.
N of T.
So, ibig sabihin, do you know what I am trying to point out to you? Na ibig sabihin, hindi lang lagi yung f of x plus delta x minus f of x all over delta x. Iba-ibang situation pero they are behaving what? The same, na? Iba-iba nga lang ang tawag. Naintindihan, children? Kanina, slope ng secant. At ang slope ng secant, in other situation, can be average velocity. Mali ang spelling ko ng average velocity. Pag may maling spelling, guys, check my spelling. Yan. At sa population naman ng bacteria, yan, ito naman yung average rate ng change ng bacteria, number of bacteria with respect to time. So ano naman ang instantaneous rate of change? Yan. Instantaneous rate of change. Yan. Instantaneous. Actually, ang tawag dito, ang notation diyan, pwede ring derivative of b, yan, actually, yan, with this notation, which we'll be having later. With this notation, o tawagin natin rate instantaneous. Yan, instant. So this is equal to the limit, yan, as delta t, yan, approaches what? 0 of this. What is the difference quotient corresponding here? N of t plus delta t minus n of t, yan, all over what? Delta t, no? Let us have last situation. Let's say my production of commodity, yan. So of course, if you produce a commodity, there is a cost. And let's say this is the cost. Production of commodity, the cost is, let's say this is my commodity. And the cost is, for instance, is what? Is represented by C, no? Yan. Okay, guys? So C of, dependent, for instance, the number of items. N is the number of items that I produce, or the number of units of commodities. Is that right? I mean, is that clear, guys? So ano ngayon ang ating average cost? Average rate of change ng cost. Guys, cost average
is
average rate, ha? I'm not talking average cost, average rate of change, ha?
Okay
Yan.
po.
Average. Yan. Rate yan, ha, mga rate. So, what is that average rate, guys?
C.
So, of course, madali lang naman. C
C is
N
multiplied to
plus
N plus delta N minus C po. C
N.
N all
Okay.
over
As delta
delta N.
N approaches, del over delta N, no?
Yes po.
And if we get the limit of this, so I can now get the instantaneous rate of change. Okay? Alam niyo ba ang tawag kapag kinuha niyo ang instantaneous rate of change ng ng cost. May special name yan. Kagaya ng average rate of change ng distance with respect to time. Average instant, at saka yung instantaneous, no? Yan. So if I take the limit, what is this now, guys? As delta n approaches zero,
As delta n approaches 0 po.
ang tawag dito, marginal cost.
Ah,
Okay? So ito
Okay po.
yung instantaneous, yan, rate, no? Instantaneous rate. So ang tawag dito, guys, ay marginal cost. Yan. Marginal cost. Marginal cost is the rate of instantaneous rate of change of what? Of cost with respect to the number of items produced. Okay? Now, as you see, different situations, they have just what? Same formulas, no? Changing lang sa mga letter, no? Do you notice, guys? Itong instantaneous rate of change.
yes po.
Mayroong binigay na special name here. There is a special name given to all these situations. Ano yung sa tingin niyo yung special name na yon, guys? Ha? Guys? Guys?
Not sure po.
So this different instantaneous rate of change, instantaneous rates of change are given a special name or a neutral name. Kaysa tawagin natin velocity, instantaneous rate of change of the ano itong B natin? Ano tayong B? Bacteria ba to? Number of bacteria in a colony with respect to time, instantaneous rate of change na, or velocity, or marginal cost. So we are given a special or neutral name. Sophia, do you have any idea of what special name or neutral name given to all these different instantaneous rates of change? Sophia?
No po.
So it is given a special name called derivative. Anong tawag sa special name na binigay sa mga yan, guys?
Derivative po.
Derivative. Lahat ng mga yan, derivative. Okay? Binigyan ng special name. Para pag sinabi nating derivative, it can refer to any of this instantaneous rate of change. But of course, not only those, no? Is that clear, guys? Guys, is that clear?
Yes po.
Yan. So that's the special name given called a derivative. Kaya instead na tatawagin nating slope, instead na tatawagin nating what we call this, velocity, marginal cost. So what name na are we going to call to them, guys? Derivative, okay? Do you know what derivative means? Or remember, saan tayo nag-start? We started with just an increment, and then we talk about average rate of change, and then we interpret that graphically, and then we come up with instantaneous rate of change. And how do we come up with instantaneous rate of change? We try to move Q towards P, and we get something from that, a limiting position of what? Of a secant line, and that is called the tangent line, and we want to measure the slope of the tangent line, and that is what? The limit of this difference quotient. As delta x approaches 0, because as Q moves towards P, delta x is getting smaller and smaller. Okay? So meaning approaching 0. Okay? And then I mentioned to you different situations where you will have where these functions are behaving actually in the same way, and this instantaneous rates of change are given a special or neutral name, and they are called a derivative. Is that clear, guys? Guys. Okay?
Yes po.
Like for instance, in medicine, you can talk about, this is what I got, radius of an artery changes with concentration of alcohol in the bloodstream. So how fast is the radius of an artery changes with the concentration of alcohol in the bloodstream. Bloodstream, di ba pag mayroong ipinasok sa veins natin, our veins is changing na? Guys, parang nagre-react, sometimes expanding or the opposite, and so on, depends sa effect. Okay? Yan. So how do we now define derivative, guys? So ano na ang derivative? So I cannot define derivative. Guys, so what is a derivative of a function? Guys, to define a derivative of a function, of course, we need a function. Pero meron tayong condition. So let y be equal to f of x be a continuous function. Okay, guys? Be a continuous function. The derivative, let's use other color to emphasize. Of f with respect to and that is denoted by, we are going to denote this derivative of f with respect to x, this notation, f prime of x. Guys, so instead na velocity v, representation is v, yan, instead na v, yan, or instead na, let's say, rate, instantaneous rate of, let's say, population of bacteria, instead of, let's say, marginal cost, yan, marginal cost. So, ano ang tatawag na natin ngayong notation? F prime, okay? Guys? Yan. And is defined by, and is defined, so that is defined as what? As, so this is the definition. Kokopy lang natin actually yung kanina, pero dahil neutral tayo, y equals x, balik tayo sa y equals f of x, I mean, x and y variables. So to x and y variables represent again many situations na, many representations. So f prime of x, guys, is equal to what? Limit, as delta x approaches 0 of this difference quotient, f of x plus delta x minus f of x. Mr. Olager, ano nga itong difference quotient na to? Anong ibig sabihin nito sa analytic? What is this in analytic geometry? This ratio? Olager?
The slope po.
Slope ng line, no? In particular, sa curve natin, yun yung secant, no?
Yes po.
Okay? Hindi yan yung tangent, ha? Pero pag nilagyan nyo ng limit, as delta x approaches 0, that is the slope of that tangent line at the point P on the curve.
Yes po.
So, we now have this, okay? Yan. If this limit exists. Yan. So, which is now actually the precise definition of slope ng tangent sa curve. So ito na yung precise definition. Kasi remember, kung meron tayong circle, ano ang definition natin ng tangent line there? It is a line that touches the circle at exactly one point.
Yes po.
So that definition does not hold for any curve. Let's say I have a what? For instance, a curve like this. Yan. Okay? Yan. It's still true for this, no? Okay? Pero what if my curve is like this? Oh, see, it is tangent at this point, but it does not intersect the curve at exactly one point. See, guys, the definition now of a tangent line to a circle fails for this curve. So this tangent line now is not a line that touches or that intersects the curve at exactly one point. It intersects also at this other point. So possible for a tangent line to a curve to be tangent at a specific point, but it can still intersect another what? Another intersects the curve at another point. And it is even possible na ang curve ay magkaroon uli ng what we call tangent, point of tangency, not just one. O see that? If I continue with the curve, again, it is just one line but tangent at 2 points. Okay, guys? So if you want to define a tangent line or the slope of the tangent line at a point on the curve, so this is how you define it. Precisely, no? Using this limit. Okay, guys? Yeah. So from our discussion, generally, how do we interpret derivative, guys? Interpretations ng derivative, general interpretations. Guys, interpretations of derivative. It is what? It is a slope, no? Number 1, number 2, generally. Number 1, we have slope yan, of the tangent line. At a point on the curve, no? On the curve. Meaning, yung curve natin, ito yung graph ng y equals f of x, okay? We can also interpret this as instantaneous rate of change. Yan. Instantaneous rate of change. So these are the two general interpretations of derivative. Okay, guys? And if you perform derivative operation on a function, derivative is can operate on a function, no? Now, if you perform that operation on, let's say you perform operation derivative to a function, so we call that operation differentiation. So what is differentiation, guys? Guys, what is a differentiation? So this is the process of what? The process of finding or computing derivative, no? It is the process of finding the derivative of a given function. Okay, guys? Of a function. Is that clear, guys? Yeah. Okay. Now, there are different notations used for derivatives. Other notations for derivatives. for derivatives. What are the other notations for derivative? So, pwedeng halimbawa, y prime. Ito yung mga other notations. Y prime. Yan. Prime notation. F prime, as what we had there. F prime, no? Meron na tayo niyan. So, derivative, capital D, with respect to x ng y. Pwede ring derivative with respect to x nung function, let's say f of x. Okay, guys? Pwede ring derivative ng y with respect to x. So again, how do we read this, guys? Ito actually ang tawag
Derivative
dito,
of y with
Leibniz
respect to x.
notation. Leibniz notation. Okay? Anong tawag dito, guys, sa notation na to?
Leibniz
It doesn't
notation.
mean quotient. Although, later, once we study differentials, we can interpret this as ratio. Once we study, but for the meantime, this is taken as one entity, one symbol only, to mean derivative or f prime. Ito prime notation, yan. Prime notation. Prime notation. Okay? Yan. Is that clear, guys? Ito denotation, capital denotation. Is that clear, guys? Now, if you know a particular, meron pa pala by the way, no? I forgot. Meron tinatawag na fly spec notation. Ito, may one dot sa taas. One dot. Ang tawag dyan, guys, ay fly spec. Alam niyo yung fly spec, guys? Ha? Guys? Capio? Sordilia? Dichoso? Do you know fly spec? Puwing? Pumapasok sa mata? Yan. Depending on the purpose, no? The reason why they are choosing different notations. Mayroon for the purpose of what? Of simplifying the notation, or because it might confuse with other letters that they have. The reason why they put that. Okay? Yeah. So, if you know a particular value, let's say, if A is a particular value of X, and a particular value of X, then the derivative of f at x, the derivative of f at x, that is at a, is given by this, guys. Limit as x approaches a of f of x minus f of a. F of a all over x minus a. Okay? So of course, again, we assume that this limit exists. Still alive, these children? And if you know a particular value of x, so that is how to compute the particular value. Because derivative is defined by limit, and we know that there is what we call left-hand limit and right-hand limit. There is also what we call right-hand derivative and left-hand derivative. So these are called one-sided derivatives. So we can also talk of one-sided derivative. Again, we can talk of one-sided derivatives. Of course, all you have to do is to what? to change delta x, for instance, to approaching to 0 from the left, then the other one 0 from the right. So one-sided derivatives. So number 1, we have right-hand derivative. Derivative from the right-hand derivative. So if let's say we're given y equals f of x, this is the formula. We have f prime of x is equal to the limit as delta x approaches 0 from the right, because right-hand derivative of this difference quotient f plus delta x minus f of x all over delta x. Okay? Guys? Yan.
So sir, nagbago lang po yung direction po. Yun lang po
Oo.
talaga.
At
Okay po.
lalagyan nyo ng plus dito sa baba
Oh, okay po.
to mean right-hand derivative. If you know a particular x, so if x happens to be equal to a, then gagayahin nyo lang yung kanina rin. No? Papalitan nyo lang. So I now have f prime at a. Kaya lang may plus dito, no? I mean derivative from the right. And it is equal to the limit as x approaches a. Kaya lang this time from the right. Kagaya lang dito kanina. Kaya lang lalagyan nyo ng from the right. Okay? And this is the limit of this f of x minus f of a all over x minus a. Your concern only is derivative from the right. Kasi may mga function nag-exist ang derivative from the right, meaning there is a tangent line coming from the right, but coming from the left, you don't get a tangent that will, the second line will not approach, especially if there is no curve on the left side. But you can be interested only on one side if you want. And then number 2, we just copy everything except that, of course, we change the right to left, no? Yan. Okay, guys? Yan. So we now have this thing. Di kasya, I think. We need to move this more here. And then change the right to left, no?
Wait lang sir, bakit nga po x minus a?
X minus A.
A po.
Di ba? Binilagyan ko na kasi yung x ng particular value eh.
Ah, okay po.
Ito AA na ngayon. Nag-change siya ng delta x. Anong tawag dito? A plus delta x,
A
no?
plus delta x.
Oo. Kaya A plus delta x minus A, ano ang change? Delta x. Okay? At yun yung, ito actually, o kaya naman, pwede ring, you do not know this. Pwede you do not know. Yan yung pinaka-x. From A to you do not know. Kaya x minus A ang delta x. Okay na? From you know to you do not know. Okay?
Pero x po ba represents a plus delta x po?
Sorry.
The x po represents the a plus delta x po.
Yung x minus A ang delta x.
Noted po sir. Thank you.
Okay po. Thank you sir.
Ito na yung pinaka-delta x. Okay? Di ba pag ang delta x nag-approach sa 0, ibig sabihin ang x minus A nag-approach sa 0. Meaning ang x nag-approach sa A. Okay? So ano yung papalitan natin guys? Yung word na right, no? Yung word na right. Ano pa? Tsaka yung mga plus. change to minus. Okay na guys? Yan, minus here. Minus. So check nyo baka meron akong hindi napaltan. Ito, right na. Ito left. Yan. Left. Yan. Papaka-check guys. Baka meron ba akong, baka may nakalimutan akong i-change. Ayusin ko lang a little. Number 2. And then have this here. Yeah. Okay? So, provided if in each, no? If in each the limit exists. The limit exists. Okay? Yan. Now, how to get the derivative of a function? So let's say you're asked to find the derivative of the given function. The derivative of the given function. Pwede nyong gamitin for step rule. Pwede rin yung direct limit definition. Okay? Yan. Let's say you're given this. Doon muna tayo sa limit definition. Bahala na lang kayo to choose which one is easier for you to follow. Okay, guys? Let's say I have y. That is my f of x is equal to 3x 3 minus 7x. So this is my function. How to get the derivative of this? Meaning the slope of what? Of the tangent line at any point on this curve which happens to be a line. So all we have to do is, of course, copy the formula. And that is equal to the limit as. Now, para lang hindi mahirap, no? You can let delta x to be h, guys. For simplicity. Is that okay, guys? Guys.
Yes po.
Para lang hindi nakakapagod isulat. Di ba nakakapagod isulat delta x? Two symbols pa yon. O, for simplicity, let it be h, no? Or any letter you want. Wag lang x and y, of course, no? Therefore, over h ito. Okay? Yan. Oh, let's now substitute. What is the value of the function when x is x plus delta h? X plus h, I mean. So, I'm going to replace my what? Oh, do not remove the limit, ha? I'm going to replace all the x by what? By x plus delta x, ang ibig sabihin. So, I will replace this x by x plus delta x. So, what is my f of x plus h? Di ba marunong kayong mag-evaluate ng function? If you know f of x, what is f of 2? Di ba you just substitute to x? What is f of x plus h? You substitute 3 minus 7 plus x plus delta h minus what? F of x. Ano yung f of x? 3 minus 7x. Okay, guys? And then just simplify. Oh, what is the simplified form of the numerator? Mr. Officer. What will cancel? What are those quantities that will cancel? Pag sinimplify natin yan, it is 3 minus 7x minus 7h minus 3 plus 7x. What are those terms that will cancel out, guys?
3 and 7x pa.
Yan. So no more 3 and -3 additive inverses. No more this additive inverses also. What are retained? Anong natira, guys?
Negative 7h over h po.
So limit as h. Pinalitan ko yung delta ha ng h for simplicity ha. Negative 7h over h. Still will cancel na. What is left?
Negative 7 po, sir.
Negative 7. What is now the value of f prime of x? That is negative 7. What it means is that the derivative is constant. So whatever my x is, kasi this is x, whatever value of x I have here, what's the derivative? Always negative 7. So what does it mean? If I have a graph of a Of a function, which is a linear function, and if I take a point here, what is the tangent line there? Di ba ito rin? If I take another point, what is the tangent line? Ito rin. Meaning that the tangent line is the line itself at any point on the line. So it means whatever the derivative, that's the slope of the line. Kaya yung slope ng linear function is negative 7, that's also the derivative. Is that clear, guys? Guys?
Yes po, sir.
Yan. That is what it means, the reason why constant ang nakuha natin. Pag may variable ang value, the slope of the tangent line on the curve, at the point on the curve, is changing also. It depends sa point. Pero for this case, parehas lang. The tangent line itself is the given function. Okay? Let's have another one. Number 2. We have y is equal, for instance, to 2x minus x squared. Solution. What is my f of x, guys? My y equals f of x, no? Again, I will change delta x back to h, ha, guys? So, what is now the derivative of y with respect to x? This is the notation. It is equal to the limit. My delta x, I will now replace by h for simplicity. Let delta x to be h. So f of x plus h minus f of x all over what? All over h. Let's now replace x by x plus delta h. Every x in the given function. What will I get for the first group in the numerator, guys? So 2 times x plus h minus
2x
x
minus
plus
x squared.
h quantity squared minus f of x plus h pa lang yan. Minus f of x. 2x minus x squared. Am I correct, guys? Okay. Next, over h. So let's simplify. What is the simplified form of the numerator? Anyone? Let's expand that. 2x plus 2h minus x squared minus, no? Because preceded by minus. 2xh minus h squared minus 2x plus x squared. Okay? As a check, dapat all the terms in the numerator that will be left with h or with delta x, no? So dapat mawala yung lahat ng terms na walang h. Okay? So 2x dapat mag-disappear yan. Negative x squared. O, lahat ng natira may h na. Okay? I can factor out h. What is the factor form in the numerator, guys? I can factor out h here, no? So h getting 2 minus 2x minus h all over h. From which I can now cancel this. Remember, my variable in the limit is h, ha? That is 2 minus 2x minus h. What is the limit of this, guys? So this is already the derivative. What's the limit? H is approaching 0. So 2 minus 2x minus 0. Or that is equal to what, guys? 2 minus 2x. Is that clear, guys?
Yes,
Guys.
Professor.
Yes,
Okay. Ganyan lang. Naintindihan na, guys? Guys?
Yes,
Let's have
Professor.
another one. Let's see if I can finish this in 5 minutes. Number 3. What if I have quotient? So let's say my function is g of x, and it is equal to x over x minus 7. What is my g prime of x? Okay. So we now have, I want it at x equals 5. Okay, what is the value of g prime at x equals 5? So I'm looking now for not at g prime of x, but at g prime o at 5. Pwede rin naman kunin nyo muna yung g prime of x and then later compute for the g prime of 5. Okay, guys? Or directly, no? So we now have limit as x approaches 5. Yan, no? Tama ba? As x approaches 5 of what? Of f of x minus the value of the function at 5 over x minus 5. Okay, guys? Am I correct? Ito yung a ko.
yes po.
Okay? So limit as x approaches 5 of what is my f of x? You just copy the quotient. X over x minus 7. That is f of x. Minus f of 5. What's the value of the function when x is 5? 5 over what, guys? Is it 5 over
Negative 2.
negative? So it is now positive, right? Am I correct?
Yes, Professor.
All over x minus 5. And then evaluate the limit of this. Okay? Yeah. Limit as x approaches 5 of, let's simplify. Anong LCD? Anong pwede nating ipang-multiply in both the numerator and denominator? X minus 7, right?
Yes po.
Over x minus 7 to simplify this. So the numerator now becomes x here. So here it becomes what? Times 2 pa, no? I think I still need 2. Times 2.
Opo, times 2 po yung sunod po.
And then times 2 also. Let me fix it. Times 2 times x minus 7 all over 2 times x minus 7. Yan. So here it is 2, no? 2x plus 5x x minus 35. Am I correct, guys? And then in the denominator, 2x minus 5, x minus 7. Okay, simplify further. Oh, what is the numerator? 7. I can factor out that, getting what? X minus 5, na? 7x minus 35. So, all over 2x minus 5, x minus 7. I can cancel this out because it will lead us to indeterminate form. So, let's now remove this. So, I can now evaluate the limit, guys, na? Ano na ang limit, guys? Magiging ano na to? Limit as x approaches 5 ng 7 over
2x minus 14.
2 times x minus 7. And finally, what is g prime of 5? 7 over 2 times negative 2. Am I correct? 5 minus 7, negative 2, na? Negative 7 over 4. Could you please check my value, guys?
Same din po ng Coco, sir.
Okay? Yan. I will just continue, ha? But if you can leave if you want, because so that in order for the recordings to be complete. Okay, guys? Para those who are not around,
Okay po.
or not around can see. Okay? Number 4. You can go if you want. I will just finish the recording. So if I have, let's say, y is equal to negative square root of 4 minus x. How do I get the derivative of this? So what we do, applying the definition, limit definition, and let y be equal to f of x, no? Or you can go directly, no? Directly sa dy. The derivative of y with respect to x. Again, this does not mean quotient, ha? It means it is just one symbol. Limit as h approaches 0. Again, we denote delta x to be h. F of x plus delta x minus f of x all over h. But my delta x is h. It's hard to move on. No? If you're used to it, it's really hard to move on. What is the numerator? So, negative, then is square root of, replacing x by x plus h. So we have this, minus negative, it is now plus, square root of 4 minus x. Why is it plus, guys? Minus negative, so positive now, all over h. Okay? Limit. Don't be patient, ha? Because a solution like this is really long, no? Don't worry, next time we'll have a shortcut. So we copy this and then we're going to multiply by the conjugate to simplify the numerator, no? Because our goal is to get rid of the terms without h. In order to do that, we need to rationalize the numerator. 4 minus x minus h plus 4 square root of 4 minus x all over h times. What is the conjugate, guys? Ano ang conjugate natin, guys?
Negative square root of 4 minus x minus h.
May tao pa pala.
Yes, sir.
Someone will. Marami pa ba?
10 students po.
Okay. So this is now equal to what? I multiplied by negative na?
Yes po.
Square
Negative
root
square root of
of
4
4 minus x
x
minus
minus
3
h minus
minus.
Minus.
square root of 4 minus x. Same din po sa denominator.
Oh, yeah. Negative square root of 4 minus x minus h. Ikaw kitangon, parang hindi kaya nanonood ng video o kaya hindi mo tinusunod yung pagtatanggal kayo. Tinuruan ko na kayo how to remove greatest integer. Sa solution nyo, nakalagay pa rin kung ano nung pinaglalagay nyo. So we
Sorry na,
have
sir.
h approaches.
Sorry po, sir.
At saka hindi sinasubstitute ang infinity, ha? Sa
Hindi nga,
variable.
sir.
Sir, hindi ko naman po sinubstitute.
Hindi naman, sir, sinubstitute eh.
All lager.
Sir, hindi ako.
Oh, yung tangent negative inverse tangent in negative infinity. Okay lang kung nilagay mo lang sa side. Huwag mong sa pinaka-actual solution. Because that is just a scratch. Pero to the actual solution, hindi pa pwede. Okay? So this is 4. Wala nang negative, no? Tama ba? Minus x minus h minus 4 pero plus na, no? Tama ba ako, guys?
Percent.
Because ano to eh, 4 minus x minus. So, magiging minus plus. Negative square root. Mentally, you can assign small. Pag sinabing close at may greatest integer, do not choose a big number. Halimbawa, approaching 1. You choose 1.001 from the right, kung from the left, 0.9999. You try to substitute, it will work. So that you know what value you substitute para you can remove the greatest integer. What is now cancelled here? 4, negative 4, x, negative x, no? What is left, guys? H. Wala na rin, cancel na rin. So ano nang natira, guys? Limit h approaches 0. Are there still people am I talking to?
Yes, sir.
Yes po, sir.
Okay lang, para kunyari I'm still talking to someone. Alam niyo, nahirapan ako mag-explain pag mag-record ng walang kausap. Nalilito ako. If I am not talking to someone. Ayan. What is now the derivative of y with respect to x? Guys. What's now the value? Negative in the numerator, in the denominator is negative, is square root. The one that is approaching 0 is h, no? 4 minus x minus 0. Then minus the square root of 4 minus x in the numerator, negative 1. What's now the value, guys? Positive na, no? 1 over 2 is square root of, di ba? They are identical. 4 minus x. Okay, guys? And that's the derivative. A question.
Sir, di ba negative 2?
Negative.
Na-cancel na, sir. Kinancel nyo na rin.
What about four-step rule? Actually, this is just another way, no, of doing. But instead of everything put inside the limit, you do it gradual. Like the way we derive the derivative, no? Definition. So we now have the increment, ang tawag dito, increment method or the first step rule using increment method.
Wala na po.
Four-step rule. Using what? Using increment method. The reason why it is four-step rule because it consists of four steps. Okay? Given a continuous function y equals f of x. Of course, ang assumption natin dyan, continuous. Yan. A continuous function replace what? Replace x by x plus delta x, that's the first one, and y by y plus delta y. Okay, so that's the first step. Is that clear, guys? Yan. So let's do that. So we have y plus delta y is equal to what? F of x plus delta x. So that's the first step. Second step, step number 2. Solve delta y. Okay, so what's delta y, guys? Delta y is equal to, yan. And of course, you have to simplify and simplify. Yan. If you know already what the actual f is, you can simplify this, no? So f of x plus delta x minus y. But what is my y, guys? Are there still people?
Yes po.
How many?
9 po.
Step number 3. Divide delta y by delta x. Divide delta y by delta x. What will I get? Delta y over, so instead of doing this inside the limit, we're doing it gradual, no? So f of x, ito na yung average actually, no? Average rate of change over delta x. And then the step 4, you have to get the limit. Yan. Get the limit, no? Determine the limit. The limit. Okay? So we have getting the derivative. Getting the derivative. So the derivative now of y with respect to x, or that is f prime, no? Of x is equal to the limit. You have to take the limit of that ratio as delta x approaches 0. Yan. That's it. And evaluate the limit. Samantalang tayo, narito na agad sa last. Paurong nga lang, paurong. From the last, we do it, no? Parang papunta sa step 2. Parang we are trying to simplify, o kaya step 3. Is that clear, guys? Let's do that. So find y prime. Number 1, y is equal to 1 over x. Step 1, replace y by y plus delta y and x by 1 by x plus delta x. And then after that, you solve for delta y. 1 over x plus delta x minus y. But what is my y? 1 over x. Then let's combine this as a single fraction. So to get in the numerator, x minus delta x, right? All over x times x plus delta x. Okay, guys? Pero kung gusto niyo, you can have y plus h, ha? You can let it by that. Simplifying further, we have what? Negative delta x over delta x yata. Ay, sorry. X times what? X plus delta x. Okay? Oh, that is my delta y. Oh, what's my third step? Divide by delta x. Delta y over delta x is equal to delta x times x. Dinivide ko ng delta x, ha? X plus delta x. Ang numerator may negative delta x. I divide by delta x. So this is cancelled. Okay, guys? Oh, what is left? Negative 1 over x plus delta x. And then fourth step, that's already the derivative. You get the limit. Limit as delta x approaches 0 of 1 negative x over x plus delta x, and that is equal to negative 1 over x plus 0, and that is negative what? Negative 1 over x squared. Okay, guys? So that's the derivative of y with respect to x using increment method, applying four-step rule. Oh, what do you think is better, guys? Guys, what do you think? Guys, are you still there?
Yes po.
Let's say I have cube root of x. How to get the derivative? Let's just finish this. This is the last one. What is the first step, guys? Change y to y plus delta y. This is my y, no? My y is f of x. And the x by x plus delta x. But this is cube root. Then, second step, you have to solve for delta y. And that is cube root of x plus delta x minus y. But what is my y? Cube root of x. Okay, guys? Then, we need to simplify this, no? In order for us to get rid of the terms in the numerator that have delta, I mean that do not have delta x, to get rid of those terms in the numerator not containing delta x, we have to rationalize this, no? So what is our multiplier, guys? What do you think? Anong multiplier natin? Will conjugate work here? Guys? Guys? What do you think?
Just like last
No?
time po, not the normal conjugate po.
So we have to multiply by 3 terms each numerator and denominator. That
Yes,
will
po.
form a cube minus b cube and multiplied, no? If this is a minus b, what is our multiplier? A squared plus ab plus b cubed, no? B squared. Oh, what is that, guys? So, cube root, then square, no? X plus delta x, quantity squared, plus product, cube root. Yeah. So, that is now cube root of x plus x squared delta x. Am I correct, guys? If I multiply x squared x plus delta x, no? It's not x squared. X delta x. Okay, guys? So, we multiply x squared. Ito, squared pala. Yan. X squared. Then, plus what? Square root of, cube root of x squared. Okay. So, we copy that, no? Cube root of x plus delta x quantity squared plus cube root of x squared plus x delta x plus cube root of x squared. Okay, what's the product of the numerator, guys? So this is my delta y, no? So what is my delta y, guys? The denominator, start muna tayo sa denominator. Because there are a lot of things to write in the denominator. Okay? So cube root of x plus delta x quantity squared plus cube root of x squared plus x delta x then plus cube root of x. Okay? And the numerator, a cube minus b cube. So that is x plus delta x minus x. Am I correct? Are still people there?
Yes po.
O, divide by delta x, no? Di ba cancel to, guys? Yan. Divide by delta x, what will happen? What will be left? Just this one na lang to, no? Am I correct?
Yes po.
Yes po.
Cube root of x plus delta x quantity squared. Kapagod. Diba, dan susunod, puro formulas na. And then plus, actually, yung mga formulas are proven using this method, no? Kaya you have already formula later. The last one, that's now the derivative. What's now the derivative? I will just evaluate the limit immediately, ha? Anong value, guys? Ang numerator magiging cube root of what? X squared, no? Plus 0 rin to. Cube root of x squared plus cube root of x squared. Ayan. Ay? Cube root of x squared ba to? Sorry, meron palang to. I missed this out. Okay. What's now the final answer, guys? Guys.
1
3
over 3
denominator you have 3 cube root of x.
X
No?
squared.
Numerator 1. Okay?
Sir, hindi po ba x squared?
Oo nga, x squared here. Meron pang correction. Check nyo nga. Guys, drop the exponent, copy the base, subtract 1 from the exponent, get the derivative of the base. Okay, cube root, okay. Sa simplest, ito lang yan. Pag mabilisan. You will learn later by general power formula. Derivative, drop the exponent, copy the base, subtract 1 from the exponent. That's the derivative. So imagine using increment rule. It's now your choice whether you use the first step rule or the direct one, limit definition. What do you think? Which is easier? Guys?
For me po, the first one.
It's up to you. So whatever. Goodbye, guys.